In large black print the phrase government food stamp card, which profiles, obviously, food stamp holders. The bill achieves absolutely nothing other than embarrassing the individual that's on that program. House Bill 2070, we just heard this in appropriations last week, which authorizes the governor to call into action at any time a state guard. I asked many questions during that committee about what the oversight and accountability was for this new state guard and its authority. I asked who was going to pay for this state guard, for the training, for the oversight, and I asked, most importantly, what the purpose of the state guard was. And the bill's sponsor, Mr. Harper, and as well as the witnesses that were there, none of them could give me an answer to that question. And I left that hearing room still trying to figure out what is the purpose of the state guard. It is a very sweeping piece of legislation that does absolutely nothing to solve our true issues facing the state. Senate Bill 1519, healthcare annihilation. We're all familiar with this one. It terminates access, which would make Arizona ineligible for $4.8 billion in federal funding and leaves thousands of Arizonans without health care. And additionally, it would cost the state tens of thousands of jobs at a time when we are struggling to create jobs here in Arizona. Senate Bill 1610 declares an official state firearm, would make the Colt single-action Army revolver Arizona's official firearm instead of focusing on the real issues, which is, of course, the economy, jobs, and education. Not to mention, I'm not sure how we decided this is the favorite firearm of Arizona. We'll have that debate, I'm sure, when it comes to the floor. But it's an interesting bill, to say the least. And then House Bill 2490, Happy Meal toys. This actually bars cities and counties from enacting regulations that limit the ability of restaurant incentives like toys, which restricts local government rights. This is another mandate on local governments, and we've seen it time and time again down here. Mandates coming from us down to the cities, the counties, the towns. At the same time, as a majority party complains day in and day out about the federal government and the mandates they push down to the state. It is hypocrisy at its worst. And then we have a whole list of extreme anti-choice bills. House Bill 2384, House Bill 2416, and House Bill 2443. These bills, among many things, would do prohibiting abortions sought based on race or sex of the child. We know that one. We debated it last week. There's absolutely no evidence of this occurring. We debated this on the floor. The data that Mr. Montenegro, this bill's sponsor, put forth to support his bill is incorrect, as I pointed out on the floor and many others. And the article he cited from The Economist, as has been pointed out by many members of the media, was not talking about the United States of America. It was talking about China and India and some other countries on other parts of the world. These bills also dictate what colleges can teach by prohibiting them from using public funds, tax monies, or tuition for medical training that includes abortions. And another one requires a woman performing abortion to listen to the heartbeat of the fetus before termination. These bills are divisive. They have nothing to do with jobs, fixing the budget, or getting the state headed on the right track. And then finally, for the bill I'm going to highlight, last one is House Bill 2165, which is really just a bill that kicks Arizonans when they're down. This changes the unemployment benefits paid to individuals temporarily from 26 weeks to 16 weeks through October 31st of 2012. This bill would leave thousands of Arizonans stranded without the help they need when they're trying to find a job in this horrible economy. And so while all these bills are being debated, while we're spending time on these bills, Arizona's budget is still out of balance. There's nearly 100 people still waiting for transplants, and we have one of the worst poverty rates in the nation. And so on that uplifting note, I'm going to hand it over to Representative Farley to discuss several other bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. You know, I've watched over the past 2 years, seeing things like the birther bill and human-animal hybrids bill and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. All at the same time, I see people in my district and all around the state fighting just to put food on their table. We're struggling to pay their mortgages so they don't have to go into foreclosure. Many more have seen on the streets their homes already foreclosed. In fact, just yesterday at my church, Father Keplinger, in his sermon, said that there were 13 different families out of our congregation that he was working with that previous week alone who had been dealing with economic anxieties and stresses like their homes being foreclosed upon and loss of jobs, loss of health insurance. Here at the state capitol, Republicans who control all of state government are introducing meaningless bills to waste taxpayers' money. In fact, most of these bills will have no meaning because of the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause. So what is the point of these bills? HB 2471, introduced by Representative Gowan, a waste of taxpayer dollars, prohibits the legislature from enacting any statute that involves a monetary federal mandate, which will be overturned by federal law. HB 2191 benefits only one person, which the Constitution is called a Bill of Attainder. Prohibits any person who is illegally in this state in violation of federal immigration law from being awarded punitive damages by any Arizona court, which is a bill introduced to benefit only one rancher retroactively. That's Representative Wires introduced that bill. Representative Jones introduced a bill, HB 2313, which is also a waste of taxpayer dollars. It broadens the classification of property to the state's eminent domain laws by including property possessed by the federal government. That will also be repealed by federal law. HB 2077, introduced by Representative Lesko, is another waste of taxpayer dollars, which requires any federal agency that comes into a county to conduct authorized businesses, to conduct its authorized business, to register its presence with the county sheriff. That will also be repealed by federal law. And Senator Klein introduced SB 1433, another waste of taxpayer dollars, which asserts that the state is not required to recognize or live under any federal legislation that has been nullified by a simple majority vote of the state legislature, which will be repealed by federal law. The point here is that there is no point. These bills will not put Arizonans back to work. They won't stop foreclosures. They won't lower class sizes for teachers. They won't hire teachers. They won't do anything except even cost more taxpayer dollars on high-priced attorneys as we lose in court. It's embarrassing. And most of all, it's just another reason for we the people to hold Republicans accountable for their irresponsible bills and their misplaced priorities. It's time to fix a broken system and preserve our communities. It's time for honesty and effectiveness in government, and the time is now.